States like Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia, may soon pass laws calling for a constitutional amendment that would allow states to opt out of any federal law rejected by 2/3 of our 50 states. Doesn't that sound terrific? Georgetown professor Randy Barnett, one of the foremost authorities on the American Constitution in the land today, and Speaker of the Virginia House of Delegates William Howell, one of the strongest defenders of states' rights in any state legislature today, are forefront on this effort to restore federalism and restrain the federal government. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on Freedom Watch. Professor Barnett, to you first. How would this work? This would require an amendment to the Constitution, right?
Right. If 2/3 of the states request that there be an amendments convention, or 2/3 of Congress propose it to the states can consider a constitutional amendment. This is called the Repeal Amendment, and if this amendment were enacted, it would give 2/3 of state legislatures the power to repeal any federal law or regulation. They just have to have 2/3 of the legislatures get together and vote, identify a specific law, and vote to repeal it.
Speaker Howell, this sounds almost too good to be true if it could actually happen. We wouldn't have unfunded mandates. The 10th Amendment would reign supreme. The states would be sovereign within their own borders. But in order to get to this point, before I have to stop myself from dreaming, wouldn't this have to pass the Congress first? And isn't it almost bizarre to think that the Congress would vote to send a proposal to the states that would limit its own power?
Well, two things, Judge. First of all, it doesn't have to pass Congress. The framers of our Constitution, many of whom were Virginians, provided two ways to amend the United States Constitution. Right. One, as Professor Barnett said, is through the Congress, but the second is when 2/3 of the states petition the Congress to have an amendment convention. But, you know, the second part of your question, don't you think that Congress would not be in favor of something like this? We have a very new Congress that's going to be inaugurated next year. I had lunch today with Majority Leader-elect Eric Cantor, and he's very interested in this proposal, and he's very supportive of it. We have several members of Congress that have indicated that they are going to put in resolutions to do the same thing that we're going to do. But
all right, so there's two ways we could do this. One is 2/3 of each House of Congress sends this resolution, this proposed amendment, to all the state legislatures. The other is 2/3 of the state legislatures make a demand upon Congress for a constitutional convention, of which we've only had one, the one in 1787 that wrote the Constitution. Are you worried, Speaker Howell, that a constitutional convention might be runaway and give us a document to ratify that bears no resemblance to the one we have now?
No, I'm not worried in the least for several reasons. One, it's an amendment convention. Article 5 of the Constitution provides for a convention to add amendments to the Constitution. It takes 3/4 of the states, 3/4 of the states to ratify anything that comes out. And so I don't think you'd have a runaway convention at all. If there's anything runaway right now, Judge, it's Congress.
Absolutely.
And I think that,
absolutely. Professor Barnett, what is the realistic expectation that this could pass? I thought marijuana in your basement without cops banging down your doors would pass in a place like California. It didn't. What are the chances that something like this could pass in the great hinterland between New York and California?
Well, look, Judge, what we're doing is we're going to each state legislator who are asking to propose an amendments convention and saying, look, how would you like just a little bit more power? Each state legislator, how would you like just a little bit more power to check the federal government? And you know what? Democrat or Republican, they might actually go for having a little more power to protect their states from the federal government, and also to provide a mechanism by which citizens can have an alternative to Congress when Congress is the problem.